No, we didn't hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Did not hear a word.
Who was that? So he's gonna be on.
I guess so.
Ask him, if Commissioner Ashbrook can Zoom or be in person.
I hear you, Mayor. I'm going to be participating via Zoom today.
Hey, speak up, because your mayor can't hear real good. So, is it 12 noon? I didn't
Yes.
have my phone.
Yep, 12 o'clock.
Is it 12
Right
o'clock?
Yes.
All right, everyone, let's call a meeting to order and, get started today. We've got quite a few things we need to talk about. So, the first thing, on the agenda is our consent agenda, of course, regular meeting minutes of, July 7th and the workshop we had on July 7th. So, everybody had a chance to, look over those. I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Mayor?
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ashbrook. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Langston. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. That's 4-0 or 5-0. I'm not sure if Commissioner Lowry's on or not. He is
Yes.
on also. Okay.
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney.
Mayor, I don't have anything specific to update the board on, but I'm sure I'll be putting input on several different topics.
Okay, all right. All right, Mr. Jim, we're under old business.
Yes, sir. First item of business is coronavirus COVID-19 update. We're still currently under resolution 2020-02 for the state of emergency. And Mayor also provided a handout for each of us to be looking at today and for further discussion.
Okay, I think we're on here, but I don't have a green light, so I guess the battery's dead. But anyway, Commissioner Ashbrook, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, we don't need one. We're fine. We're fine. If people on Zoom can hear me, I'll go ahead. On the COVID-19 topic, as most of you know, in a week's time, we have doubled the number of cases in Gulf County. We're currently, yesterday, 178. I assume it's probably more than that right now. We're running a 6% positivity rate, which has gone up quite a bit. Looking at a population of approximately 15,000 in Gulf County, that would extrapolate to 900 people in the county if we continue on the 6%, take away the 200 that we've already had. So what I'm saying is, based on the facts that we have in front of us, there's still about 700 people in the county that are currently walking around with that are positive coronavirus. If you look at straight the 6% positivity rate based on our population. We've had a couple of businesses that have had to close because they weren't serious about the mask, wearing masks. So their employees got sick, they had to close. So currently I know of 2 businesses that are down. And so, with that being said, our attorney presented us an emergency declaration back about a month ago that would require masks in the city. I would, everywhere there's a blank on here, I would hope that we could get a motion and fill in the blank with required, not mandate, but required that this emergency declaration be followed. And it's not getting any better, and we're responsible to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of St. Joe. I didn't want to get to this point, but it appears that our business leaders, I would hope that they would lead in our efforts to calm this thing down. That hasn't happened, and so we're we're gonna implore them based on if we can get an emergency declaration passed, implore them to, do what, we need to do to flatten this thing out. So, I'll open up the floor to, more discussion on that.
Mayor, I'll start if you wish. Can
Go
you hear
ahead.
me, Mayor?
Go ahead, David.
I think you hit it spot on, Mayor. We're at a place now where we didn't expect to be a week ago. We put our faith in the business leaders and the citizens to mandate themselves to wear masks. That didn't work. My big issue is, drugstores and grocery stores, the elderly and at risk don't get to choose whether they go to those places. Those are what I would call necessities of life. However, restaurants and other items, you can choose to stay home and not go to a restaurant. My initial thoughts coming into the meeting today were that we would somehow be able to mandate what we consider essential businesses in Port St. Joe to wear a mask. And in the absence of being able to do that, I would support a face mask ordinance at this time, unless a city attorney could say whether or not we could pass an ordinance that would allow us to define essential business.
While I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head, I kind of would have a real problem, I do believe, with discriminating against certain kind of businesses and other kind of businesses. I think
I
that's
agree.
a slippery slope.
Anything else, Commissioner Ashbrook? At this
No,
time?
sir, those are my thoughts.
Okay, Commissioner Hopkins.
Well, from the onset of this pandemic, you have heard me say over and over, and you'll hear me say it again today, that I have chosen to listen to what I consider to be the experts. I don't consider anyone in this room, me included, an expert on how to contain and how to do what is right in regards to keeping our people safe in reference to COVID-19. So I've been reading and researching from the CDC, and I spoke at length yesterday to our health director, and she gave me a lot of insight and a lot of her opinion as to what the city should be leaning towards doing. I think if you spend any time at all in the guidelines and the recommendation of the CDC and the Florida Health Department and our local health department, you have to realize quickly that they ask us and instruct us to wash our hands, to stay away from crowds. When you're in a group like we are today, stay 6 feet apart. If you can't do that, put a mask on. And even if you have the mask on, you still wash your hands and you still try to stay at a distance. So it's easy to do the hand washing, and it's easier to do the separating in a distance. It's not so easy to wear a mask. I don't like wearing the mask. I'll just tell you straight up. But I put the mask on and I wear it when I go to the store, like today, not to help me. We all know now that the cloth mask is not to protect the person that's wearing it, but it is to protect the person you're around. So if the room is full of people and we all have a cloth mask on, according to the CDC, and I'm not going to get into the experts on Facebook, but according to the CDC, then we would have a much lower risk of infecting each other. So it's like I told some people this morning at breakfast. You wake up in the morning and you decide, who do you want to believe? You can believe the propaganda on Facebook about the mask, or you can educate yourself on what's to me to be the facts, and that comes from the CDC and the health department. So with that said, I'm going to be in support of some type of mandate to require the mask inside of public spaces.
Yes, months and months ago, we left it in the hands of the citizens, business owners, to be responsible, to do what they're supposed to do so this pandemic, we could keep it as low as we could. It definitely has got out of hand, and we have to think about the older people, kids, people that depend on us to make certain decisions for them in order to be safe. So I feel that I'm very disappointed about the numbers jumping, because I think people took it too lightly. They didn't take it seriously. Now it's hit home. So I feel that we should wear masks when you're in public places, when you're around a group of people. I don't know how you do it in a restaurant when you're going to eat or anything like that, but right now, to tell you the truth, I support the restaurant business, but right now I'm supporting my citizens, the citizens that we have to make the choice for. So I am, I'm all on board with wearing masks.
Okay. All right. That being said, we got a emergency declaration written. I think it's fairly well written, or very well written, I'll say that. And it mandates it, but I'd rather we fill in the blank with require the use of face coverings in public settings. Item 1, it says anybody over the age of 6 in a public place within the city limits is required to wear one. We're not able to engage in social distancing set forth by the CDC. 2, it says every operator, employee, customer, patron of a business located within the city is required to wear a face mask or covering at all times while that business establishment, unless he or she is able to engage in social distancing. The operator of the business should ensure that all those inside his business are aware of that, and the ones entering also. And item 4 talks about anyone coming into the city building is required to wear one. So I think it's pretty straightforward. I just entertain a motion to approve it as
Mr. Mayor,
written.
Bree says Commissioner Lowry would like to say something.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I have to get used to this Zoom again, Commissioner Lowry. So, Bree, one of you guys over there flag me down. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I like the idea of Commissioner Ashbrook's as far as essential facilities such as the grocery stores and the I guess the pharmacies and places that, that people have to go. A restaurant, you don't have to go there. If you don't want to be out in the public, stay home. But I do understand that people do have to go to these grocery stores and the pharmacies. So I would support some kind of declaration such as that. So that's all I have to add.
I'll have to disagree with you on that, because we've got businesses that are not requiring their employees to wear masks. Tourists are going in there. I'm talking about restaurants. The wait staff and so forth in restaurants are not wearing them. They're getting exposed. The people that are coming in there are getting exposed. They're going back out in the public and exposing everybody else. So I'm just, it's going to be difficult for us, and I'm not sure if we try to define an essential business, somebody's going to go to court and say, well, the state says otherwise. So I think our attorney was spot on there. So anyway, I'm open for a motion of any kind.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
One more question. What are we going to do as an enforcement mechanism on this?
Right now, the way this is written, Commissioner Lowry, there is no enforcement mechanism written into this. This is a strongly worded document that I hope folks will take seriously. If not, we can come back at a subsequent meeting and make it an ordinance. This is not an ordinance, but we can do that, and I hope we don't have to. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, all righty. Okay. So does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion Mr. Mayor, that we accept the emergency declaration as prepared today with the word require in the blank.
Do you want to put a start date on that, Commissioner? Give us time if it passes to educate folks, get on Facebook, put it on the city's Facebook.
Yeah,
Start.
I'd be willing to do that because they're going to have to require the mask and make preparations. What do you think is a fair time limit?
Today is Tuesday, I would think Monday. That gives time to start to be out. That would be the 27th. July.
Mayor, due to the lack of enforcement, what would be wrong with just enforcing it immediately? Honestly, if we can't really do anything to the people that don't follow it, why wouldn't we just go ahead and put it in place?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Well, I think it would open the door for someone to say, I want to comply, but I don't have the mask currently. So they don't want to be viewed as someone that's in non-compliance when they have full intention to comply with the order. That's how I would look at it.
Sure. And I would assume that all of our officers are equipped in their vehicles to hand out masks. If they do, call someone out on it, they can hand them a mask, I'm hoping.
We're declaring this emergency declaration as a requirement. It has no enforcement now, and I don't really want to burden our police to go around and be mask police. We're leaving it up to the leaders of the community and business community to help us.
I'll amend the motion to include a start date on Monday.
The 27th of July.
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. I'm gonna Pat. Go ahead.
I second them.
For discussion. All right, second, Commissioner Langston for discussion.
I just want to say that, it comes to a point where you have to try to level things off and stop it. If we keep going and going and going like we're going now, it's going to be so bad that it's going to be way worse than what's going on right now. We need to try to stop this thing now. I know that certain businesses and owners and restaurants, they may hurt, but my thought is protecting the people right now. I'm sorry if you feel bad or you're mad at me or whatever, but I'm going to make the decision that's best for the people within the city, and it's a decision that I can go home and sleep silent. I don't have to go get up and worry about it.
Okay. All right. Second, Stan.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I got one more discussion. If you don't
Go
mind.
right ahead, sir.
Are we going to leave this? Is there going to be an end date? We're going to leave it open-ended for now?
The way the motion was made, it appears right now they're required until we rule that they're not.
Or it automatically sunsets if the state of Florida rescinds the state of emergency in Gulf County.
Did you hear that, Commissioner Lowry?
Yes, sir, I did. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, is there any discussion from anyone on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom? Any more commissioners? Anybody in the audience? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion passed 5-0, and we'll move on, and we hope everybody will get on board and take this thing serious as it needs to be taken. So thank you, everybody. All right, Jim, next item.
Yes, sir. Census 2020, Census did have folks in the fire station doing training last week, so they are preparing to go door to door to help us out with our census. Indications are they've only had about 3% of folks in Gulf County respond back, so we definitely need people to get online or call into the account.
That's disappointing. I'm
3%?
shocked. I'm shocked. Yeah. So people, I'm afraid that I understand that folks want to have their privacy and so on and so forth in this world of everybody, stealing their identity and so forth. But this is serious stuff. It's going to cost this city a lots of money if we don't get our census taken and taken properly at a high percentage. So anyway, okay, BCC.
Yes, sir. At their last commission meeting, the board did discuss offering a lease agreement to BCC for the city transfer station. Mayor, myself, and city attorney did have a meeting with Mr. Jason Tennell to discuss a couple of items, one being the lease agreement with city attorney's working on now for the city's 3 acres and the yard debris. We had discussion about yard debris, that we need to step it up, that we need to take care of the yard debris issues in the city. Mr. Tennell indicated that he will have the truck running 5 days a week, going from one end of town and then circle back to the house. Keep on that. That was a discussion we had at the last Tuesday.
There is a schedule that he has provided to Jim that tells about quadrants. And so if you have a concern about your neighborhood or complaint or whatever, you can give Jim, see what quadrant they're supposed to be in on that week. And I mean, heck, we can ride around and see if they're working, because we talked to him this morning again, and he said he was gonna get on board. And I know Commissioner Langston's been really concerned, as all of us have been. He assures us that he's gonna be doing what he's supposed to do according to the contract. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, I think the next step of this, if it continues to be bad service for the yard debris, then we call a meeting and we figure out what punishment penalty to impose as far as a fine, a monetary fine for each yard that is skipped, because I'm tired of the calls.
Yep, we all are.
It's set forth in the contract.
Right.
A certain amount of complaints is so much money.
Yeah.
And it steps up.
I rode a little bit this morning, and there's still quite a few trash piles that's got grass and weeds growing up in them, so it appears to me that they've been there long enough that grass grows, so that's probably a month. So while they ride by those, one of them, pile's not that big. Right on the right way.
Just keep on it. If you see areas by the end of the week, call me and we'll relay.
Commissioner Ashbrook or Lowry, you have any comments on that?
No, sir, I agree with everything that's been said. I believe that, in our contract, it allows us to fine. It's not personal, it's business. And if they're not complying with the contract, then they need to pay the consequences.
Okey doke. Okay.
I really don't have anything, Mr. Mayor. I just appreciate y'all meeting with me.
Okay, thank you.
DR 420, this is the city property tax single millage rate. This starts our budgetary process. It's time for us to make a decision to what we tentatively want to set to work through our budget process. The city's currently at 3.5914 mills. Staff recommendation is to start the process 1 mil higher, which would be 4.5914 mills.
And that's because we can bring it down, we cannot go up.
Yes,
Right?
that is correct. Yes.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board in that regard?
Motion to submit 1 mil higher.
There's a motion by Commissioner Ashbrook to submit 1 mil higher and let everybody know we can come down, and we have been doing that for the last 14 years. So don't get too excited. We just have to do that to have a little flexibility. Okay, is there a second for that?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Hoffman, to set the tentative millage 1 mil higher than the current 3.49.
3.591.
Okay. Okay. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Anybody on Zoom? That being said, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passed 5-0. All righty, under new business, we have got the proud president of the Washington High class of 1960, should be 66, right, Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir.
66, it's on here as 1960. That's my fault, but come on up and be glad to hear from you. And sign in, please, if you will, Mr. Davis, right there. Is there a pen up there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Was that the Board of Commissioners? My name is George Davis Jr., President of the George Washington High School class of 1966. Thank you for the opportunity to speak at this colloquium. My purpose is to present several proposals for your consideration. First, the class of 1966 would like to restore the flagpole at George Washington High School and proudly fly the flag of the United States of America and the state of Florida flag. Next, to initiate a beautification project from Highway 98 and extend from Avenue C, George Washington High School site, and plant palm trees along the route. Finally, we propose to change the name of streets presently known as A through F streets. This can be accomplished through usage of either numerical or names. I humbly submit these proposals on behalf of the class of 1966. Thank you for your attention and time. The George Washington High Post Box is 552 Fort St. Joe, Florida, 32457. Any questions?
Yes, and thank you for coming. That's exciting. What you want to do, a couple of questions I have. Number one, the city, I feel like that we can find in our budget a way to restore that flagpole there and with the two flags that you were requesting. Second item is, when I talked to you earlier, you were indicating that your class kind of wanted to adopt this beautification stretch
Yes,
along
we
there.
want to adopt Avenue C,
Avenue C,
starting from 98 all the way
Okay,
to the Washington High School
right.
site.
And so you basically need our permission to do that, especially anything that has to do with city right of way. So you know, I think that's great, as long as we make sure we're get the public works and not digging in some places that we shouldn't be and that type of thing. But I love it. And matter of fact, something that you and I did not talk about the other night, and it's been on my mind for a very long time, but I knew it opened up a can of worms about changing the name of the avenues A through efforts.
Right.
But I've always thought about that because there are a lot of proud people in the history of that community that probably deserve a name, a street named after them. So, I think that's a good start. I really do.
Thank you.
Other folks, comments?
I think they're all three great ideas. We just gotta figure out how to get it done. I always wondered why we had streets named A through G. I know it's too boring for our town. So I'm
Well,
glad you brought it up.
there is a concept, we won't talk about that today, but that's most definitely need to be changed.
So I'm in favor of all three of us. I think we can get the flagpole and the flags put up pretty quick.
Okay,
First of all, I appreciate you coming, Mr. Davis.
yes, sir.
Those were excellent ideas. I wish I could have thought of those.
You could have.
But, I'm definitely behind this 100%. Anything that I can do, any of us commissioners can do, just give us a call.
Okay, thank you.
Folks on Zoom, Ashbrook or Lowry, you got comments or suggestions?
Yes, Mayor. I think all of those are great ideas. I love seeing communities coming together, you know, to better themselves. Everybody, you know, needs to take a part of their street and make it better. That's the only way that we're all going to get it. We don't have we just decided on our taxes, and no matter what we decide, there's not going to be enough to do everything we want to do. So there's always going to need to be a citizen's effort to help get it done. So I'm in favor of everything that was just spoken here today.
Okay. Mr. Lowry?
Yes, sir. I completely agree. I appreciate you coming today. Let's just figure out how to get it done.
All righty.
We'll do, who's gonna pay for the flagpole? I think we need to do that now, or we won't have one a month from now. Jim, where's the best place to take the money and get that done, the flagpole?
Let me check around and maybe some flagpoles around. I tell you what, by the next meeting, I'll have an answer to you. So what
Okay.
the cost is if we have to buy one.
There you go.
There is a flagpole that's still standing. We need to just check the durability. So we may be able to use the original flagpole.
Okay, okay. Jim, you can get John or you and John maybe check on that, or I'll be glad to help you too.
I was thinking, Mr. Davis, I was thinking of the flagpole there, and if not, there may be a couple more suggestions. We'll check it out.
So it sounds like that's going. I think, I don't know, Mr. Attorney, do we need a motion to allow them to adopt the street for beautification?
Yeah, I think it would be.
Okay, but we don't for the flagpole because there's one already there, so we want to just make sure it's fixable. So,
I'll make a motion to approve all three suggestions from the class of 1966.
all right, wait, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all right, Ms. Sharp.
Will 911 need to be notified before any changes are made because they and the post office?
Yeah.
So can we motion to actually do that without consulting them first?
Oh, no, I think we're getting really far ahead a little bit, but they're gonna have to get together, vote on street names, agree on street names, and
Right.
then it's gotta go to 911 coordinator, which will be city notification, you know, for long, I think. This man will have to be approving those, so,
Post
yeah,
office, yes, sir.
and, so, good question, though.
The motion that I made is to support the ideas presented to the city commissioners today from the class of 66
Okay.
and move forward in making this happen.
Okay, and the second, Commissioner Ashbrook, is there any more discussion?
Just one other comment.
Go ahead.
I know that other classes of George Washington High will also participate, but we just wanted to initiate it today.
We're proud of you. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Start a little fire, and I hope it gets to be a bonfire. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, everybody. All right, Jim, next item.
Yes, sir. The next item is RFP 2020-06. This is the CDBG grant that covers C and D avenues. We got some good news. The bids did come in lower once we did the rehab at $448 $925.76. That's $448,925.76 from Gulf Coast Underground. What does this mean for you? The actual amount for the construction that we have is approximately $511,000. Right now, as it sits now, the city has a match of $63,000. That would be the $25,000 task order from the engineers and the $38,000 from Appalachia Regional Planning for Mr. Bruce Ballister. What we would like to do is to go back and ask for a modification to the grant to see if that difference between the 511 and the 448 could be utilized to cover some of those $63,000 costs. We had indication today from Mark Elding, actually a DEO, that we can ask for it and they'll give it to us potentially in a few weeks, but we can't award or give a contract until that point in time that it's actually approved. So the staff recommendation at this point is just table this for 2 weeks. Let's work with them and see if we can reduce down the amount that's going to be out of pocket to the city. But we've got some good news that the bids came in a lot lower. Mr. Bruce Ballister, I believe, is on line 2. I talked with him this morning. He is going to go ahead and be working with the folks at DEO to get us the information that we need for the modification. We have to have a public hearing on it, so we will have to advertise that as well. So hopefully we can get that done by the next meeting.
Well, I wonder, all the business we give Mr. Ballister, he'd be interested in cutting his fee a little bit.
Good morning or afternoon, gentlemen. I've been in conversation with Mark this morning, Mark Nixon, and I went back through the calculation because his original concern was if we rescheduled or did the modification, took pavement out and added in admin and engineering, it would lower the score. When in fact, if I went through the preliminary rescoring by taking out the paving and having all the construction costs being in sewer work, the score actually goes up because we're having the same dollar amount asked, the $511,500. It doesn't change the scoring on the beneficiary score sheet. So we tend to not have an issue that on the thing he was most worried about. And since we have to have a completed modification before we can award a contract, I agree with Jim that we just wait, proceed at post haste with the modification and hope that we can get that back from DEO before the first meeting in August. We are bumping up against the calendar, but in the past when we've showed due diligence at all stages, they haven't been really upset about having to do a 6-week extension, and I think we would be able to fall into that if that came about. So I think we just need to proceed with getting the modification to DEO. I've already submitted the revised scoring sheet to Mark Nixon to see if he agrees with my numbers, and we would proceed with the modification if he agrees.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Jim,
Everybody's in favor, recommendation to table this is bring it back to the next meeting, and hopefully we got a modification that will reduce our out-of-pocket costs.
Correct.
What is the fee that we're paying Ballister's firm?
$38,000.
38,000.
Yes, sir.
And the 38,000 was based on the full 511, and now it's less.
No, sir. The original contract was $500,000 with the grant as indicated, asking for $511,500. That grant amount, that grant request hasn't changed. It's just the apportionment as it's going in. What the city essentially stands to save is around, in the round numbers, around $75,000 in fees. Excuse me, $63,000 in fees.
I'm fine with tabling it. We can think about a fair price to pay between now and then.
Okay. All right, moving on. The next item we have, if you'll turn over to page 10, in reference to the Washington Gym use request, you have a request from Pioneer Bay CDC.
Anybody that's deserving being vulnerable, I'm 100% behind the food distribution program. I know that that workforce runs one on Mondays. Couple of questions I've had from this request is, number one, the workforce has a lease on that building until August 15th, I believe, Jim?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
August 15th. So a lease means that basically they're the owner of that property and they're responsible for that property. So I got a problem with, unless they want to modify their lease agreement, it's going to be difficult. Well, let me just say this. Since they're the owners of that property until August 15th, anything done in there has to go through them. So if you want to do anything in Washington Gym till August 15th, their lease says that they're owner and responsible of that property. So I just think everything needs to go through them, whether you want to get a key and go in there and do something or what have you. I mean, if I had a lease on this building, you would have to go through me to get inside this building, or anybody else. If you have a lease, we cut a lease with BCC for our property at Industrial Road. We can't get a key and go out there and dump trash if we want to without going through them. So that's the only problem I have. Now, after that, I think we could work something out, and we should. Even though I'd hope maybe that they could work with the workforce and combine food distribution and have one site. But the more we can give out, the more people we can serve. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on as far as from now to August 15th.
I agree with Mayor that you can't sublease someone's lease unless the leasee is in agreement. So I agree with the fact that we can't consider anything until workforce group has finished and their lease is expired. I am concerned, and I think we're going to open up a door that we regret in the future if we don't consider every group on equal terms. We need to have a lease contract that mirrors and copies the other leases, because it wouldn't be fair to the workforce group who have a written out lease. They pay a certain amount. It's probably not much. I don't know how much it is, but they agree that they're required for small maintenance jobs, issues like that. It's all in the lease. And I think that if we're going to enter into an agreement with Pioneer Bay, it should be under the same terms. Because if not, we're going to be looked at as if, oh, well, you let one group lease it and they had to pay you. You let another group lease it, they didn't pay you. We can't get into that game. That would be about like having the Centennial Building and one family calls and wants to do a wedding. Well, we decide as a group, well, they're free. You know, that we like them, they're free. It shouldn't get into that. And I don't think we would consider doing that at the Centennial Building or any of the other places that we lease. So I'll support helping them in any way we can, because I support the idea of what they're doing, but it has to be fair for all parties involved.
I think that TC, they need to get together with Ms. Kim, have a discussion, and try to work together. I just can't see us just going ahead and say, look, they're gonna be in here for 6 months. Regardless of what you said, that we stayed up 6 months, and they're paying money to lease that building. So I just think they need to get together with Ms. Kim Bodine and try to work this out. I'm behind them 100% in everything that they do, but what's right is right, and they chance to get together and talk and discuss the situation. And I think there's more going on the inside than what we see. You know, so they just need to get together and work some things out.
But I guess when you saying that they need to get together, I think we need to let them know that what they want, anything they do, they're gonna have to go with her, get with her and work it out. Is that what you're saying?
That's what, yeah.
Okay.
As long as they got the lease.
Yeah, as long as.
Until the August 15th.
August 15th. And then at that time, they'll have to come back to us with some kind of proposal. Does that sound logical, Jim?
Yes, sir, that's easy enough. What we could do is, we'll just relay that they're currently under lease. Is the board wishes to see if if they want to entertain a lease agreement similar to the workforce board from the 15th of August through the end of the year as indicated in their letter.
Yeah, that too, but at the present time, you need to notify both parties of that Kim's in charge and they're gonna need to work with her if they want to do what they want to do at the present time for August 15th. Is that?
Well, I don't think we have any choice but that. I mean, they have the lease. We can't turn around and tell somebody else they can use the building when it's under a lease. Hopefully that's not what they're asking, because that's not gonna happen.
Okay, you got it. Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Yes, please. And identify yourself, please.
This is Cheryl Steindorf. I'm representing Pioneer Bay CDC.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, we have met with Kim, and she gave us permission to store the foods that we have in there right now. And she's given us permission, as long as we get the key from the city, because it's after their working hours, to go in and get food and deliver it. And so we have been working with them, and we've gotten permission to do the storage and to put it in a place where it's not affecting their programs.
I think the one thing I heard you say, Ms. Steindorf, is you're getting a key from the city. The city does not have a right to give you a key. Only workforce does, because they own the building at the present time.
Okay.
So that's what Jim's going to relate to Ms. Bodine.
Okay.
And of course, you're representing them, so you kind of heard it firsthand.
Yes. Yes.
That's what we're going to have to do.
Okay. I would just want to take a minute to let you know exactly what we're trying to do with our food program, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I came to you, if you remember, back in March, and I was concerned about the seniors being food secure during the coronavirus, especially the seniors of North Port St. Joe, who we know are most at risk. And so we went to DuPont with a proposal for a pilot program for 2 months to take an assessment, a survey of 80 senior families on the north side, and to assess their food security and other products that the family might, or I guess not only products, but home repairs and things like that, that they might deem as necessary for their household. And so after getting those surveys back from 80 families, we went to the DuPont Foundation and got funding for 2 months for a pilot program, and where we have a food security coordinator who meets with each of the families. We find out what their needs are, and we are currently delivering program foods that are already coming from Career Source, Farm Share, commodities. We're enabling seniors to stay at home and still take part in these programs. We also partnered with Second Harvest to deliver an additional senior monthly grocery box to each of the seniors. So we are getting to the end of our 2-month grant, and we are asking for one to go until the end of December. And our project goal is to take seniors from food insecurity to food security, and mainly by getting them hooked up to those programs that they are that they can qualify for but haven't accessed yet. And so we're delivering those products and enabling our seniors to stay in home, out of grocery stores or other stores where they might be more at risk. And so that's the history of the project. And so far we've worked with Career Source in their food programs, and they've provided and let us have the space where they also store foods in the Washington gym.
Very good. That's a wonderful program. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's move to the next item.
Yes, sir. RFQ 2020-01, request to bid for architect of record. We found out there is approximately $8 million coming down from the federal government for historic preservation after Hurricane Michael. So we're hoping to tap into some of this money since we were unable to secure it from the state in last year's fiscal budget year. We've worked with several companies in the past, but we need to secure an architect of record. So at this point, we'd like to go out to bid and bring it back to you, see for an RFQ for qualification to help with these historic preservation grants.
Okay. We can't use who's always helped us in the past for the last 10 or 15 years.
What I would recommend is, because you don't, it asks you to say who the architect of record is on there. Right. We've had some very good companies to work with before, but I would secure it with continuing services contract.
Okay. All right.
By glad to be.
Understand what we have to do there. This is just an RFQ though.
Yes, sir.
Motion to go out for bid for RFQ 2020-01 for an architect of record to help us with our historic preservation.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Langston. There's a second.
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Lowry, okay? Any discussion, commissioners?
I have one question. Did I miss it? Maybe, but would this architect of record also be assisting us with the developing the plans for the new city hall, or is this just this one specific?
Say again?
Would this person also be responsible for the architecture of the new city hall complex, or is it strictly for this one item?
We have it. That's a good point. If they're your architect of record, you could reach out with a task order to do anything that this board may need.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's not, obviously from what Jim's saying, it's for any architectural needs we have in the city. Yeah,
the primary focus at this point, we need one for the historic preservation, but that doesn't say this board will come up with some other idea that you need architectural help with.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Ashbrook.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Any discussion online? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Sign, motion passed 5-0. All right, Public Works.
Mayor, we should have our department heads online. Let's see if we can get a hold of Mr. Grant. If not, I'll be happy to.
John, you online?
Yes, Mayor, I'm here.
All righty.
All right, the canopy quotes under our tab is several meetings ago, Commissioner Langston wanted us to look out for a possible solution to shade out at Forest Hill Cemetery. And the quote you have in front of you is something that we feel will be adequate to provide that shade over the benches. And we just wanted to present it to you, Mayor, so you could, perhaps consider putting in a budget next year or do something now, solely up to the board.
Okay, Mr. Langston, you like to comment on that?
Yes, first of all, thank you, John, and Jim, you guys, staff, for this, if we could, we're about to do the budget, right? So I feel that we could wait until we do the next budget find money and put it in. Put this as a line item and just move forward from there. I mean, we're not good. It's gonna be hot for a while.
Yeah.
And then once we get this, we don't know how fast it's gonna get done anyway, you know? So if we wait another month or two, I don't think it will hurt, but you know, we can find the money now, that'd be good too.
Definitely no shade at Forest Park Cemetery next to their gazebo. There's no shade there. Holly Hill's got big oak trees that does help, even though at some point in time we may want to look at that too. But I certainly would like to see if we could, sooner the better. It's going to be very hot here for probably 6 months.
I think we can find the money.
I'm kind of leaning that way myself.
Yeah, I think now is the hottest time of the year, and we'll regret it if we wait till it starts cooling off. Then I'm prepared to move forward with finding the money and getting it ordered.
All right, everybody understand and see what's presented to us and the size and everything. Mr. Langston, are you comfortable with that?
Mayor, I just had one question.
Go right ahead.
It looks like this is a fabric covering. Is that something that's going to be taken down when not in use? And if so, where is it stored and who's setting it up?
Commission, we would do the install. It's a fairly straightforward, concrete install. We could take it down, during the winter months if we elect to do that. It's meant for year-round, use. So, I guess we just need to wait and see, how it reacts.
John, I was only referring to the covering. I know the structure looked solid, but the covering, are we going to leave that out in the sun and the weather, or does that stay?
I think that's to be determined. It's going to stay up obviously throughout the summer months. Perhaps during the winter months we can remove it, but again, it was designed to stay up year-round.
Okay, I just don't want to buy something that every year we're going to have to replace a cover for it. At $3,000-$4,000. I'd rather build a $12,000 permanent structure with a wooden top. If that's
right.
Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner Ashbrook. I don't see any kind of guarantee or what have you on that covering. It says ultra shade fabric. It appears that's what. Well, that's an option.
Canopy though, I mean, it won't be up continuously. I mean, they'll take it down.
No, I think it's designed to stay up all the time. It's not like one that we have for fish fries and that type of thing. It's a big.
Mayor, if we can get a 5-year warranty on it, I'm all in.
I got to put this on depending on how easy it goes up and down. When you buy these type of things in there, we pull down. We'll find out once we put it up and see how easy it is.
John, do you mind, if Commissioner Langston's okay with this, table this for our next meeting, 2 weeks, and you find out a little more about this shade that we're going to use, what kind of warranty it does have on it, you're out in the sun all the time.
Yes, sir, I will. I'll get hold of Ron and have that information for Commissioner Langston in the next meeting.
Okay, good. Is that okay with you? If I'm like Commissioner Ashbrook, we spend $6,800 on this thing, and every other year we're having to put a new top on there. We built a pretty nice permanent structure.
Sure.
Okay.
Appreciate it, John.
All right, thanks, John.
Yes, sir.
Anything else from John?
Yes, sir, Mayor. We do have in front of you, there's a handout. There's 2 old sets of bleachers that we would like to surplus that we feel don't have any value. They're 20+ years old, that we would need permission from the board to go and declare those surplus.
Okay. Need a motion to declare our old bleacher surplus.
So move.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Langston. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Lowry. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
You sign. Okay, John, you sell them or whatever.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. Anything else, Jim, on public works from
No,
your
sir.
side? Okay, let's move on to surface water. Larry, you have anything?
Barry, one thing we do want to note to you that currently working on maintenance for 10th Street, getting that scheduled, so you will see workers in the next couple of weeks that start the maintenance work on the 10th Street.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay, Kevin, wastewater?
He was having problems with audio. He did text me. One thing he did request that we go out to bid for the extension of the lagoon pipe. What this is the fluid that's actually coming out of the lagoon that goes to the contact chamber. What he would like to do is do an extension on that he believes will help out with the algae that he has in the contact chamber. So request to go out to bid for extension.
Right, the reason is we're on a consent order now from DEP for violation because the pipe we have now pulls it out as a lower part of the tube instead of the upper part. Is that
Actually, the
it's
opposite.
opposite? Okay.
We're trying to get it down lower.
Yeah. So, anyway, it'll help us with our consent order if we can get that done at something we can afford. So we need to, motion to go out to bid for, what would you call it?
I would say it's extension of your piping that's going for your effluent.
Okay, affluent pipe and wastewater lagoon?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hobson. Second by Commissioner Langston. Discussion. Brett, you and Dave understand what we're doing?
Yes, Mayor, we got it.
Okay.
Good.
All righty, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we can get a price on that. Okay, Mr. Mike, Finance Director.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yep. So we're moving along on our FEMA recoveries. We only have 5 major projects that are still outstanding and still working through the channels with FEMA. That's the 2 lift stations, the 1st Street and the 20th Street lift station, the Clifford Sims Park, Buck Griffin Lake, and the Paint Park Pavilion. So those are moving along, and I'll have a summary of those projects and all the projects for you in your budget packet that we distribute to you. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on the fee.
Friday?
Yes, sir. The plan is for staff to get you those Friday on there. What we can do is we email them and put a hard copy in your file. At this point, we want you to come and speak with me and Mike. Just try to work out everything we can before we set our first meeting on there. So Mike is done, we'll try to go ahead and set up our first budget meeting to go over all this.
Yeah, and while we're on that first one, there's a conflict because of PSJ meeting at 11. So we need to change the time on it later that afternoon or whatever you prefer, or we could tack it on to the end of our regular meeting.
We have a regular meeting at 12. We do have a planning board meeting at 4 that day too.
What's the pleasure of the board about this timing on the first one? We want to try to have it that day. We need to have it designated all by itself type.
We could move it. That's a Tuesday. We could have one on the 6th at noon if you wanted to. However, the board wants to. This is y'all's time to go through the budget.
That 6th works for me, Mayor.
6th, is that what he said?
Yes.
6th, that'd be Thursday at 9. Good.
Yeah, the 6th is fine for me.
Okay, August 6th. Okay, I'm okay with that. None. Everybody? Okay, change it to then. 26th, that'll be our very first one.
Yep, and we'll have the first packet out to you on Friday.
Okay, all right.
And that's all I had.
All right, moving right along, city engineer, Mr. Josh, you online? Josh Baxley?
I'm here. Can you hear
All
me?
right, okay, you're on board, you're on deck.
All right. Let me run through the updates here. First is the NERDA grants. The stormwater improvements, we had originally submitted comments. Late last week, we received additional comments from the Water Management District. We're working on those responses. Basically, at the end of the response, they suggested that we get together with the city and have a conference call at some point. So we're working through those comments right now. I hope to sit down with Jim next week, go through those comments, and then we'll schedule up a conference call with the Water Management District to cover the additional comments that they had. The next one is the master plan, which is also part of the NERDA grants. We're still working on the CAD drawings for the updated master plan. We've almost finished cataloging all the culverts, ditches, and the master inventory, and we're into the phase now of creating the overall master plan in AutoCAD format. The next item is the walking path, the Port City Trail. That project is ready for advertisement. I've sent a draft advertisement to the county, and we'll be proceeding with the advertisement and accepting bids in the next 30 days. I'll review those plans with John next week, and if we have any changes, we'll cover an addendum, but that project is moving forward. CDBG grant update, I think that Jim covered that in the previous item as far as what we're doing to move forward there.
Yep.
The First Street lift station along Avenue, I don't think the status on that has changed since our previous meeting. It's in with SRF, and we're still waiting to find out if we make that August hearing. I don't have, Jim may have additional information, but I don't have any unless I've missed it at this point. Commercial District Water and Sewer Grant application. John and I worked with the contractor. We received a price based on the scope that we created, which was, we identified about 6,400 linear foot of the system. And the price that they gave us was well beyond our 10K budget that we talked about. We've worked with Churchwell on a scope and also to assist them in some of the cleaning efforts. And we're able to get that price down to where we can look at approximately 4,000 feet of that 6,300 linear foot system within that budget. So we're going to be proceeding forward under the $10,000 budget to identify those areas and work with Churchwell to clean and video that system.
Very good.
That's all I've got on my update.
Josh, what was the timeline on that with Churchwell?
I don't have a timeline right now. Mayor, we just received the updated proposal on Friday, but I will make a phone call today and I'll get with Jim and John and I'll give you guys an updated timeline.
I'd love to get that done ASAP so we can put something together and send to Triumph. I just still think they're, the iron's pretty hot right now, I think, with them, so we might be able to.
Understood. We'll work on it.
Thank you. Let's see. Oh, did you want to talk about the Frank Fate Park gazebo and picnic area?
Yes, I can.
Gorman?
I can provide a quick update on that. We met yesterday on site with the contractor and discussed some options on that concerning scallop season and mobilization and construction. They believe that they can perform the demolition without interruption. But what they're going to do is part of the bid package, they were required to hold their price for 60 days. And I think it's been about a month since we opened those bids. But we asked them to do some due diligence, and right now they're calling their suppliers to see if they can hold their price beyond the 60-day mark, to look at just starting past scallop season. The only concern that they have is that if we get late into the winter months with a real low tide, they're going to use a barge that drafts about 12 to 16 inches. And if they have trouble with those piles and have to put an excavator, which will add about 20,000 pounds to it, draft on that barge could become a concern. So they are just warning us that they don't want to push this thing too far, especially if the city decides to pull the trigger on the alternate bid item, which is reconstruction of the gazebo.
Well, we voted to go ahead with the demo, and so my opinion that we're ready for them to start demoing the thing. I know FEMA's pushing us to do something about the gazebo, but the problem with FEMA is we've yet to get any money from FEMA. There's never a guarantee that we'll ever get it. So if we go out on a limb and say we want to spend $200-something thousand to rebuild that gazebo, and we sign a contract with Gorman, we're out that money. We're no guarantee we're gonna get it from FEMA. So much as I definitely want to see it back, it's an icon for the city. I'm just ready for them to go ahead and demo the pilings, and let's work toward, we don't, my opinion is if they're waiting on us to say we want them to go ahead and do the gazebo while they're there, I can understand that mobilization part. But I'm not sure I'm ready to say we're going to spend that kind of money unless we have at least a 70% guarantee that we're going to get reimbursed by FEMA.
And I understand that. And the thing, we weren't as necessarily concerned about the reconstruction of the gazebo as we were about affecting scallop season in any kind of way. And what we were looking at is making sure with those guys that they will not affect boats launching there. And if we're only going to proceed on that option one, basically we have two options. We can go ahead and issue the notice of award and notice to proceed for them to go ahead and start as soon as possible, or we can see if they can hold their price until scallop season ends and just issue the notice to proceed based on the alternate. Either way, it won't affect them. That's just up to the pleasure of the city.
Hold them on their price for demo, is that what you're saying?
Correct, yes. That's why we met
not on
with
the
them.
reconstruction, but on the demo. Y'all understand
Right.
kind of what's happening with that?
Yeah, we're talking about two different topics. We're not gonna merge them into one. They were awarded a demo project, and I'm ready for them to get started. I don't want to talk about how low the tide gets in the winter, because they shouldn't be here unless we move forward with a construction. Let's get it demoed first.
Yeah, we're ready for them to start. It appears they can do it without interruption. So I think turn them loose. Anybody else got a?
But just keep in mind, this is the last call for reconstruction of the actual project, because you've got 60 days that he can hold that price. And talking with them yesterday, all the indications are construction costs are on the rise. So what we'll do is we'll go into water for to tear it down. But just keep in mind that this is the last call to be able to hold that price.
Well, then, yeah, but it's not the last call for us to go out to bid on it again.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go out to bid.
Correct.
If we want to. So that's kind of the way I look at it. But I grew up on that thing, but we don't have the money, we don't have the money. So you got that, Josh, turn them loose?
Yes, sir. We'll move forward.
All right, thank you. Did we talk about Garrison Avenue? No. Garrison Avenue Phase 2.
I have the notice of award and bonds and insurance here on my desk. I'll be meeting with Jim early next week to schedule a pre-construction, and we'll be moving forward with construction.
Okay, if you don't mind, I know you know what I'm gonna ask you, but remind them that we want them to give us some kind of idea about patching all those dips in Phase 1.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions for Josh? Anybody? All right, thank you, Josh.
Yes, sir.
You got anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
All right, Jim, anything else you know of under the engineering topic?
No, sir, I think you go.
All righty. Code enforcement.
Yes, sir. We were actually, city staff was on the ground last Friday, trying to abate an issue that we had with one of them that had already went to special master. We had several cars towed. We had a container that actually moved from a personal property. So we just want to remind citizens that we don't like to go on private property, but if we do have a nuisance issue, that if it does go through special master in some instances, city staff does have to go on property to remove the nuisance on there. Is it completely abated? No, it's not. We started the process. We're going to go out to bid for the remaining portion of that property and for the other structures.
So we have not gone out to bid on the house on 16th Street?
No, sir, it's not. Not at this point. Working through it, there's a couple of issues we're working through legal that we need to look at as far as that, but yes, sir.
I'm working, that's 16th Street is Robinson.
Yeah.
I'm working on trying to.
Maybe a different avenue that we could take on this.
It's a little bit different. We don't really need to go out to bid on that.
Okay.
We're trying to sell that on the courthouse steps. Let the person who owns it deal with it.
I'm liking that.
So there may be
Just
some other
certainly
options here.
need to get it now. It's been there going on 2 years.
And he's
All right.
also setting up new hearings for additional cases. There's numerous cases that are going to fall behind this, the initial 4, and we're trying to put it into the budget to give you money to take care of it.
Anything else, Jim, on that?
Yes.
All right, police chief, you got anything today?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything today.
Anybody got anything for the chief? All right, moving on, Ms. Pierce.
No, sir, I don't have anything unless there's some questions.
Okay, anybody online, you have questions for the chief or Ms. Pierce? Nope. Okay. Citizens be heard. Mr. Davis was here earlier. You got anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Davis? You okay?
I'm fine.
All right, thank you. All righty, discussion items by commissioners, start Commissioner Hoffman.
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Langston.
Yeah, I got one thing, they got a sign out where they're getting ready to start phase 2 at, what's the park? Gateway.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, I had a few people, call concerned about the lift station. I have a problem with it, but I know we have that pump on it.
Yeah, we got
And,
problems.
adding those units, but if that gonna affect that lift station, are we gonna have to, do something with it or move it or? It's something that we need to think about.
John, did you hear that? Grantland, you still there?
Mayor, I did not. Could you repeat what the question was?
The question is, Gateway has met with us this week about phase 2. We don't have any plans yet, but the question from Commissioner Langston was, with that lift station there already having a problem, we're gonna have a bigger problem when we get more units on.
Well, Gateway actually has its own internal lift station. Clifford Sims is independent from the one they actually have installed on site.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's it. Commissioner Ashbrook,
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
you got any items you'd like to discuss?
Just one, Mayor. Surprisingly, people are still concerned about other things than just COVID. Received a call about tennis and pickleball this weekend. And one of the things that we were asked to consider, rather than deleting tennis off from George Court Park, that we would consider possibly adding another court. I just want that to be something we kind of think about. In the past, I had a plan to potentially move the Pirate Ship Park down into the Maddox Park area. I think it's safer for kids to play away from a parking lot where people are backing up in boats, and turning that area where the Pirate Ship Park is into another set of courts that we could dedicate to either pickleball or tennis. That is all that I have at this time, Mayor.
I thought that we had at one time voted to do pickleball at Frank Pate Park, and we entered into a lease with the school board. We got 2 nice tennis courts that we're going to be maintaining. So somebody else have comments on there? I heard.
Mayor, I do.
Okay.
Mike.
Who is that?
I have. This is Mike LaCour. Just today, I did finalize and get 3 quotes for repair of the Frank Pate Park tennis court, and I'll get with Jim and we can summarize the information that I've acquired, and we can move forward with trying to make a decision on at least Frank Pate court.
Okay, very good. I'm okay with him.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, that we discussed tennis being shifted to the courts there by the soccer field. We entered into a lease with the school board.
Can I say something about that lease with the school board? We wrote a lease. You guys voted on the lease, and I wrote up. It went in front of the school board. They voted on it, but they, in their voting on it, reduced the term of the lease. I think it was 20 years or 25 years. They reduced it down to 10. So technically, I need to bring that back in front of you guys to see if you agree with that.
So we have a shorter lease.
They reduced it. They reduced the term of the lease by half.
So we'll have less maintenance.
And the plan was to try and make tennis group and pickleball group happy. We were going to put some lights up at the soccer field, and they were donated by the school board and the superintendent. Now there has been discussion that the tennis group would like the opportunity to play tennis on the tennis courts at Frank Pate, at least until we have lights and everything up like we agreed to do. I don't know how long that might be.
Well, the problem with that I see with that, being an old tennis player, is if we redo Frank Pate Park tennis court, we need to line it up, lines for pickleball, and not tennis and pickleball, because then you got a checkerboard down there and you don't know what.
And I agree. I played both tennis and pickleball, and they don't go well together. I've told both groups that. And what I did was I went down there and measured how much space would we need to take the existing slab and expand it out far enough to where we'd have pickleball on one end, tennis on the other. There's plenty of room down there. And we could do it that way a lot in line with what Commissioner Ashbrook is speaking on. I don't even think you have to go over there to the Pirate Playground. You can extend what we have. It has to go north and south, refence it, restripe it. You have tennis and pickleball. I mean, that's an option.
I like that idea. And since we're not under obligation to the school board now, then we can look at that.
And that's one of the items we have in the capital improvements in the budget that you're going to see when you get your package on Friday. So make yourself a note if those are the kind of things you want to see in there. By all means, let us know.
Yeah, and also if we get the tennis courts fixed behind Washington Gym, it's some nice courts back there.
Yep. Yeah, I've had contractors look at those courts, and they all seem to indicate that those 2 courts are a rebuild. that you can't repair those cracks that they're so big.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, let's see, Commissioner Lowry.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All righty. I don't have anything either. We accomplished a lot today. I want to thank the fellow commissioners for taking the lead on this COVID thing that we certainly going to take some heat from, but we had it to do. So by hanging there and encourage, make sure you wear your mask in public or somebody take a picture of you without it. With that being said, we'll be adjourned.